We recently made some pretty big changes to our horror game, and in the process, realized we need to take all the cool creatures we'd made so far and completely redo them. The original setup had a bunch of random monsters spawn all over the forest, but one day we had the colossal brain idea to run a playtest where instead of having multiple monsters, which often created clunky, disorganized chaos, there'd just be one far more complex monster. And all of a sudden, the game felt like... We tried to throw a couple of the side monsters back in, but it always made the game feel clunky and confusing again. This is how we decided that instead of facing off against multiple monsters every time you play, it'll always just be one random nemesis. So that means... I'm sorry, little one. Time to put the old monsters down and salvage whatever code we can to make new ones. We're gonna keep their models though. There'll still be a tree spider, there'll still be a worm. They just need to be more complex, persistent threats. And in the process, we've got some new monsters to make for our game too. Oh yeah, I should give a quick recap of what this game even is. I'm Isaac.
I'm Gunnar.
I'm Preston.
And this is our horror game, Feed the Pit. You've been accepted into ECC, a society worshipping a horrifying pit in the ground named Elijah. You'll need to enter the nearby woods and avoid monsters while performing bizarre rituals in order to find a dead body and keep Elijah fed. And hey, if that sounds cool, you know, you could go wishlist Feed the Pit on Steam, huh? By the way, you all demolished the 1,000 wishlist goal. We're already just under 2K. Stick around to the end of the video for the thank you, and if you haven't wishlisted already, go do it! You want to be cool, don't you? I'm going to be setting the goalpost at 3,000, so if we hit that by the next devlog, we'll do something else cool. Leave us suggestions. Alright, fellas, alright. Let's talk about... Our game's first nemesis looked like this. We called him the Shy Guy because he's shy. No, silly, not that Shy Guy, this Shy Guy. These nemesis exist to add a constant threat to the game. You are always being pursued no matter where you are or what you're doing. The Shy Guy was a good start, charging the player and running away when seen, but he was really just for testing. When people responded positively, it meant we needed to make him into a real bona fide nemesis. This look wasn't really the vibe we were going for, so we're gonna save it for a future monster. Instead, we're gonna spice up the Shy Guy by allowing it to disguise as a tree when spotted. So you'll turn around and... We figured the best way to handle this was for Preston to send me a design for a new tree and I'd turn it into a man. So he sent me this, and I made... After that, he sent me this instead, with a unique eye at its center. I set up these shape keys, which allow me to make edits to the model and then pull a slider back and forth to undo and redo the edits. His one trunk became 2 legs, and I tried to turn these arms into branches for a while, but then I realized that this is stupid, and just made new arms instead. With a few other quick edits, we have our first nemesis, the Spriggan. Let us know how you feel about his design in the comments. I went ahead and started making animations for him, and then everyone said they looked silly, so I made some new animations for him, and now you can really feel his presence all throughout the forest. So watch your back, because he could be anywhere. Man, this stuff is all too complicated. I wish there was some way all the talented people around the world could just, I don't know, share their skills with me.
Say that again?
This video is sponsored by Skillshare. They've got classes covering so much of the stuff we've talked about, from sound design to horror characters, and Skillshare now gives you the ability to sort classes by software and material. Comfortable with Blender? Take a Blender course. Want to learn Godot? Say less. Whether you're in film, illustration, design, or any other creative field, there's a good chance Skillshare has you covered. It is the largest online learning community for creatives. There's thousands of classes led by industry experts, making it easy to kick your hobbies, careers, skills, or passions up a notch. And hey, it's December. The perfect time to look back on the year you had and the things you've wanted to learn. But maybe you didn't, because you were just waiting for the golden opportunity. Well, guess what? Here it is, plated in gold, because the first 500 people to join Skillshare using our link get 1 month of Skillshare Premium for free. 1 month completely free. There's no reason to not check it out. So click the link in our description to join, and a big thank you to Skillshare. Now let's talk audio. Sound is incredibly important to good horror. Throughout development, we had one ambient track that played on loop with some occasional random sound effects thrown in. It got the job done, but was repetitive. I wanted to make a dynamic soundscape, moving and changing ambience to help the forest feel alive. I started by making unique background ambience for each of the different times of day by mixing and matching some scary samples I found. Next up was adding some variety. My idea was to make some short and subtle music that could be randomly layered on top of the background ambience. I thought about what instruments would be good, but then had the much better idea to download some Silent Hill sound fonts. Lastly, I wanted some random sound effects to psych the player out. So, Gunnar whipped up a quick system where a random spot would be selected somewhere around the player, and the sound will play from there, with the intended goal being that players cannot tell fake sounds from real ones. All these components were carefully mixed together, and let's hear the result. I think it turned out pretty effective, but let me know what you think. Now it's on to the second nemesis. Let's see if Gunner can worm his way out of this one.
If you've been watching our devlogs for a while, you would know about the worm enemy. Ever since we restarted our horror game, we haven't really talked about him much, and it was because at the time his AI didn't really work well with our new nemesis system. Well, you'll be happy to hear that the worm is back and is now a working nemesis. I won't give away too much about how the worm works, but I will say that the worm is now able to go underground. Something that the worm never did before. Previously, all the worm did was follow the player at a slightly slower pace than the player's sprinting speed, but it is now much more complex than that. Now that the worm is done, let me export a version so Isaac and Preston can test. Recently, when exporting the game, it is flagged as a severe Trojan virus. Now, it was only flagged after I uploaded it and then downloaded it. Then, it would delete both the downloaded version and the original file. What's even weirder is that all of this is determined by the name of the file. The file isn't a virus. The only thing that dictates if it's a virus or not is the name. When I export the game as v16.2, severe virus block, severe virus block. But when it's vtest2 parentheses 1, completely safe, harmless. This is the safest file on your export. My knowledge is very limited on this. I tried to do some research, but I didn't really come across anything that talked about this. So I would love to hear your input, dear viewer, if you know anything about this. Currently, I just have to assume, but from my testing, the only thing that decides if it's a virus or not is the name. And to end off my part, I was recently told that my demonstration of the new interior system was bad. And I mean, they're right, like it's really not done well. It's just a pitch black hallway. So here's a better hallway. If I'm being honest, we still have yet to use this, but the system has been improved since last time it has been shown. This interior is nothing special, but it should paint a better picture than before. Okay, I leave now, bye-bye.
Yippee-yi-yo, it's me, Preston. Want to hear about the Spriggan? Excellent. So when we were working on our first initial nemesis idea, the shy guy, it was too basic. You'd look at them and they'd run away like a big old baby trying to avoid the IRS. This needs to be more fleshed out. And after playing Home Safety Hotline again, great game by the way, I was reminded of the game Spriggans. Spriggans, not only being a Skyrim nuisance, but also a legendary creature of Cornish mythology, a creature of mischief and nature, often near treasure or ruins. In Home Safety Hotline, the caller mentions how something is moving in the woods, and they can't really get a glimpse of it, which helped me come up with the initial idea of a Spriggan moving between the trees to try and catch up to the player. Although I still feel it's a cool idea, it didn't feel like it was the best use for our Spriggan idea. After more brainstorming, we thought, what if it was the tree? This led us to the mechanics that Isaac discussed earlier in the video. Unless you just skip the whole video to go to my part, in which case, I mean, I'm flattered, and that's hilarious. But you should go watch the rest. Once we had this idea, I made some rough concept art of him, coming up with this. There were parts we liked and disliked about the design, liking the eye, but disliking the ribcage. So while designing the tree he turns into, while Isaac would design the monster, we had to keep in mind how it would conceal its eye. I decided to go with this crown-like arrangement at the top, able to conceal the eye if it actually is a Spriggan. With this design at the top and a few tweaks, we finished up the design of what I call the crown tree. A tree only found on these haunted grounds, losing all its leaves early in the season, leaving only barren branches nearly all year. The other thing I've been working on between Spriggan work and his various other textures is the hideout. You know, the one you saw in the last video. Yeah, that one. Most of what I've worked on so far is the furniture in the hideout. Things like the refrigerator, couch, television, sink, the other cool things that are being shown on screen, as well as just blocking out the whole hideout in general. This is my first time modeling an interior, which gave me a couple issues, like having too skinny of walls, but nothing a couple Google searches couldn't fix.
Alrighty, I've already recorded this video once, but I need to record it quicker. Really beautiful day out. I just moved to Florida. Got Lego Hogwarts right there. More Legos back there, another Hogwarts. We got my very prized Peach Pit album, signed. Being So Normal, amazing album, check it out. Then we got my computer set up, my chair, foldable arms, got it from Target. Magic cards in that Nintendo box. Magic cards all over. They're always all over. What are you looking at? Alright, well, go enjoy the rest of the video.
Well, it's that time. Merry Christmas to all, and go!
Because Because we hit our 1,000 wishlist goal, we're giving out 5 free copies of Feed the Pit. To enter, all you gotta do is join our Discord and react to the giveaway message in server announcements with a pirate flag emoji. Frisco Bar also suggested that at 1,000 wishlists, we each show off our favorite socks. So here are mine. They've got sharks and boats and are much better than what you're about to see. These are Preston's. He asked me to censor his foot, but I declined. I had to see it, now you do too. And Gunnar doesn't have any cool socks, so here's his favorite mug instead, which has a picture of his face on it. Real classy. Please go wishlist Feed the Pit if you haven't already, and if you want to support us and playtest the game, you can for just $10 a month on our Patreon. This is full-time work for some of us, so every dollar helps. A humongous thank you to those who have supported us so far, and an extra special shout out to Alex Amalur, Tibbers, Zest, and Shiverr. Thank you all,
and we'll see you soon.